We are used to hearing that among elite athletes, the difference in their performance is mainly a result of mental factors. Many studies carried out with athletes indicate that it's the psychological factor and not the physical factors that is responsible for the variations in the performance level of top athletes. Research done by Lynch and Scott in 1999 asked some of the best elite runners in the United States about the extent to which their daily performance level is attributable to their level of mental fitness. The athletes reported that the importance of the mental side in their performance was huge. 80 to 90% of their performance was attributable to psychological factors. So there is a certain unanimity and a strong consensus regarding the fact that as the level of competition increases, the mind, the mental factor is more and more decisive. Why? Well, because the more the level of competition increases, the more the physical capacities like strength, speed, or physical resistance tend to equalize among elite athletes, up to the point that at the top level, these physical capacities are no longer a significant differential factor. And here comes the so-called mental training paradox. On the one hand, there is a widely held belief that the mind is the key to success in sport and in any other activity, by the way. Yet, on the other hand, there is an absence of systematic mental training in sport and in society in general. Or, to put it another way, the training of this differential factor, the mental factor, in professional sport and professional life in general, while considered to be extremely important, is basic at best. But there is more. The ability to regulate attention and emotions, as well as the ability to concentrate, are commonly named by Olympic champions and medalists as the most important skills contributing to their athletic performance. No one can expect to master any sport by receiving occasional talks from a coach or just reading books or articles here and there. It's not about finding tips and tricks for improving sport performance, because we all know that to improve your performance, you have to train regularly, and with each training session, you have to dedicate more and more hours to the physical aspect of your sport, as well as techniques, strategies and tactics. The more we improve, the more we have to train, and the more specifically we have to train. We need to think about nutrition, physiotherapy. Sometimes we also need the help of personal trainers. We have to start spending time studying the sport and our rivals as well. This seems normal to athletes, doesn't it? However, when it comes to this psychological factor, to the mind, you hope that some miraculous tips and tricks will turn you into an expert in an instant. You hope that these miraculous tips and tricks can act like an aspirin to solve your problem, like something that treats a headache. You know that regulating your attention is key to sport performance, for example, but you don't know how to do it, and what's more, nobody tells you how. But the tips and tricks only work if you are able to carry them out, which is achieved with specific mental training. We must ask ourselves why the importance of the mind in sport performance is recognized, but at the same time such awareness does not correspond to a real commitment to mental training as a tool for the all-round preparation of the athlete. Generally, the commitment dedicated to the mental factor in sport performance does not exist or is very scarce. We look to individual physical and genetic predisposition. We even trust fate, and yet, when it comes to mental criticalities, they tend to be addressed only when they hang heavily on the performance or on the psychophysical condition of the athlete. And when there are interventions in this sense, they are often interventions intended to address an emergency rather than cultivate with regularity an optimal mental condition, which is a bit like learning how to swim while drowning. This means that even those who appreciate the importance of mental training in sport performance tend to regard it as something suited for isolated occasions when problems arise, and try to parachute in mental training in search of a quick fix. Again, this is the mental training paradox. How is it possible that something so important is not an integral part of your training program as an athlete? How is it possible that you cannot create the necessary space and motivation to train your mind on a regular basis? Those are some of the questions that both athletes and coaches should ask and answer. Fortunately, it's just a matter of time, because the mind will be trained with the same consistency and valued the same as other areas of sport performance. In the same way, looking back, we can see how the strategic aspects of sport, for example, formerly neglected in favor of physical training and techniques, have now become essential parts of any athlete's training. So it will happen the same with the mental factors. It's just a matter of time, and there is a huge change in this direction happening right around the world as I speak. What does all of that mean? Well, it means that those athletes who decide to get ahead of the majority by training the mind will gain a massive competitive advantage. You can assume for sure, if you haven't already, that the talent gap among elite athletes is minimal. The difference is in your head. No matter how many natural physical conditions you have at the top level, they will not mean much by themselves. The ability to work hard, the ability to accept suffering, or the ability to know how to prioritize and have the discipline to execute your plans are first and foremost mental abilities. It never ceases to amaze me how athletes and coaches hope to become masters in such mental abilities like focus, concentration, attention, and emotion regulation, etc., with a few tips and tricks in a few days, while they have spent years working hard on their body and techniques, especially when the mind is the most determining factor as to what you can achieve as an athlete and in any other realm of life. The real challenge is, are we able to prioritize what is most important? Where should we dedicate our resources to achieve the best return on investment? To be a champion on the field, you first have to build and develop the mindset and personality of a high performer. That is the first step. And for this, your commitment to working with your mind, both inside and outside of your sport practice, is essential. But what kind of commitment? In the book Mindful Sport Performance Enhancement, a mental training program based on mindfulness specifically for athletes and coaches, the authors with whom I had the opportunity to be trained as a MSPE trainer, by the way, say this about commitment when it comes to mental training in sport performance. It's not just any commitment, but the commitment to practice mindfulness both inside and outside of athletics. Make no mistake, this is no small undertaking. It requires an investment of time and energy, as well as a willingness for athletes or coaches to dedicate themselves to something that may be wholly unlike anything they have done before, even if they have previously engaged in other forms of mental training. However, by considering from the start how this commitment can be made, it can open up a world of possibilities for how MSPE can be helpful. Because more and more athletes and coaches understand the vital nature of training their minds alongside their bodies. And mindfulness is a terrific place to start developing a high performance psychology baseline. For all these reasons, the most important skill we can develop at this time is the ability to direct our attention. This should be the first training target for any athlete and performer right now. From there, our work on being aware of our body, thoughts and emotions will become our journey to create the optimal conditions for an excellent performance in sport as well as in any other realm of our life. If you want to know more about how to train your attention, you can find in the description box below the link to one of my videos I made which is about how to improve your focused attention. Until next time. Ciao!